Welcome all you Plus 2 comedy modifiers to another episode of the Plus 2 Comedy Podcast. I'm your host as always, TV's Noah Houlihan with a bit of Steve Harrington hair. And oh my god, look at that. And I am here to tell you about this very special episode of the Plus 2 Comedy Podcast. I know we don't usually release today, but things got backed up. We got sick. Then we had MagFest, and with the holidays, everything got jumbled. So this is my attempt to get us back to normal. So we have a special episode of the Plus 2 Comedy Podcast with Jesse Rogers, who produces this very show, and also the In Your Head podcast. So please enjoy that. Before we get to that, though, I gotta tell you about an upcoming show. We will be at Wizard U in Irving Plaza in New York. Come see us on February 3rd. We're doing 2 shows. For more information, please check out the Wizard U Facebook page. That seems to be the best place to find information. And now, without any further ado, take it away.
Who's ready for a podcast? Cool. That was a reaction. That counts.
Pretty good.
Who's here to do other things currently being annoyed by a podcast? Dungeons and Dragons people? Yeah, kind of.
Not, they can't even hear us.
This is the Plus 2 Comedy Podcast coming to you live from Gamers Vault. That's 175 Route 70 in Medford, New Jersey. I'm your host, as always, TV's Noah Houlihan, and I am joined by the Katoricon to my MagFest, Mr. Will Liam. How you doing, Will?
I just put a cough drop in my mouth.
You doing okay, pal?
I'm still a little tired and sick.
You look really tired and sick and homeless.
Why? Why I look homeless?
Just the way you're bundled is just like...
I'm cold, too. There.
All right.
Why is it okay? You're not the only person to tell me I look bad. And at first I'm like, yeah, I'm sick. But then I'm like, you still shouldn't say that to someone.
Yeah, but counter argument, you don't look great.
Like Christmas Day, we had family over, and my one uncle's like, "You look sweaty and pale. Are you okay?" It's like, that's not nice. I mean, true, but not nice.
It's not fun to react to that with, no, I always look this
Yeah,
way.
this is normal.
Our guest this week is the host and creator of the In Your Head podcast, and also the producer of this very podcast. Give it up for Jesse Rogers.
How are you guys? Thanks for having me.
Thankful. I mean,
I did notice you added homeless to the list of things Will look like when you said that there.
It's not like a bad coat or...
yeah, but it's one of those things where it's a really like warm coat that you've not taken off now that you're inside. It's like, no, I can't lose the coat.
Well, another person might take it.
Exactly. So, Jesse, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, guys.
So, Jesse is usually the faceless, voiceless, all-powerful producer of this show.
Don't go too far now. Don't go too far.
Well, I mean, you have the power to just shut the show off now, which is just
okay.
the power that you have. But we brought him on because he's got a new podcast I greatly enjoy that he's cheating on our podcast with, called the In Your Head podcast. How did you come up with this idea?
I guess it kind of just, you guys know me as someone who's always got a project going on. I'm always building something, always working on something, and being around High Note and a lot of the guys that are there, the creativity part came out, and I said, you know what, I wanted something to do, and I realized that when I talk to somebody as far as like a question I've asked people, I don't go with the normal interview questions. I get bored of what normal interviews are. If you watch I guess if you listen to Morning Zoo Radio, I guess, local Preston and Steve, every time a guest comes on the radio, it's always the same set of questions they get.
Right.
So they can you can turn the station on, you can turn another station on, I guarantee it's going to be the same stuff. And
exactly.
I've wanted to start asking people different questions, and that's where I kind of wanted to really see what makes people tick, why they do what they do, and what they do. As far as comedy, which is most of what I've been doing right now, is comedians from guys I've met at High Note. But I wanted to meet different people and see what gets them into doing what they do. My most recent podcast was with Jeff Stormer, so finding out what made him want to do podcasts and what made him what makes him like eggnog in particular, but things like that, and what makes somebody...
His gross taste buds.
Yeah, it's just lack
His
of
incorrect
taste.
tongue.
Sorry, Jeff. I tried to help you out on that one, man.
No, sorry. We dunk on Jeff Stormer on this podcast.
That's what we do here.
But I've enjoyed your show, and you always open with the same opening question. And it's a rough question to open with, but I'm going to ask you it as our icebreaker question, which is, tell us something, from your past that, maybe was illegal that you're not proud of.
I was hoping to do this one in one podcast of mine, like a 25th episode or something, but
nope, we're stealing it.
Yeah,
I figured
taking it
I
from
should have
you.
known better. One I did was we were out at a local park, and we were just old enough to know better.
Okay.
I mean, I know we weren't even in our teens. We were just older, but we were just hanging out. I mean, we normally weren't even troublemakers at any point. And we wandered out into this park, and we're just hanging around. And back in those days, we would videotape everything. We would go places, and even if it was just something dumb, we'd just videotape and talk into the camera.
That's not smart.
No, it really wasn't, because at one point, my buddy was in a porta potty, and we decided that porta potty looks much better on its side.
Oh,
and so
no.
we tipped the porta potty over with him in it. Luckily, he didn't get too wrecked up, but later on, we're wandering around the park, and a local, I guess would be a park police.
A ranger?
Like almost like a county police came up and was like, "Oh, what were you guys doing?" He just kind of questioned us, make sure we were all on the up and up and everything. And I'm sitting there with a camera, with I just dumped my friend. We just dumped our friends over in a porta potty, and I'm holding this camera, like, "Oh yeah, we're flipping porta potties," and I'm holding this. I'm like, "Oh man, just get this thing out of here." And so that was the thing we weren't terribly proud of. None of us walked away happy from that.
He didn't ask I'm going to need to take this camera into evidence or anything like that?
No,
I think you need a warrant for that.
Unless you're talking to children.
Yeah,
And then they don't know.
Which we weren't, unfortunately. We were all over 18 at the time.
Oh.
Like I said, it was a real lapse of judgment, because we normally didn't do that kind of stuff. We were old enough to know better, and we just felt, you know what? Screw this guy, tip him over in the porta potty.
Well, we grew up in an era when we were, in our teens, early 20s, maybe a little bit before that, where CKY actually made people famous. So it's like, oh, well, let's just do that, because then we'll be famous.
Yeah.
What a terrible example. That dang Bam Margera ruining our lives. There's a little helicopter parenting of myself. So you always open with that question on your podcast.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to me that you open with that, because it's a question that makes you very vulnerable, and you haven't done anything to earn their trust yet on the podcast.
Well, I think it levels the playing field for the guests and myself, because it does make them vulnerable. And I mean, I am 7 episodes aired, but I've recorded 10 episodes, and it is still a feeling out process for me. And having people on, it makes. I mean, if people go on and watch the first couple episodes, they'll see that it was rough. And even though the first 2 people I interviewed, I knew very well, was very comfortable around, it was hard to just be in front of the camera. And so, it was something that for me leveled the playing field and said, hey, this is, now we're on a level surface. We can talk about this thing, and it opens everybody up, especially because it's more of a relaxed atmosphere. We're on a couch, and it's just my quote unquote studio, aka living
Sorry,
room.
we have fold out plastic chairs.
Yeah, no, I mean, but that's what it is. It's just this smaller, intimate setting, and it's just me and that person talking, as opposed to, being out in more of a public setting.
Yes. So. I say this often. No podcast is like this one, for a good reason. We do a really weird thing. So I have to ask, why did you get involved with us?
We got to go back that far. Do we remember this story? And I don't know how much of this I want to talk about on the air back then, from way back then when I met you guys, which was
GamerCon?
Yeah, it just seems as if no one had ever been nice to you before. and we're not, but just mildly less mean than other people, and you're like, I'll help these guys out.
Well, you helped us run the Smash Brothers tournament at GamerCon.
Right, the first one, right?
And we had a blast.
Yeah.
And
and that wasn't even the two of you.
Yeah, it was me and Alex Perlman.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was such a blur that whole day. I didn't even know because I honestly thought that was Will with you at that point in time because I didn't even meet you beforehand. It was just you both showed up, did the thing, and
my life has a horrible con spidey sense, and when I know that it's going to be a horrible experience, something happens where I can't go.
That is pretty accurate.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've ever come back from a con without you like, dude, you missed it.
So great.
I mean, after that, it was we just kind of started working together, and it was, it was fun working with you guys. I mean, being at High Note and being here, it was just, I mean, it was pleasant company to be around. So I never, I never had a complaint. Hence why I stay on the other side of the cameras normally,
Yeah.
and it's,
Cameras that Jesse brought. Like just one day, he was like, "Hey, you ever think about filming this?" I was like, "We've thought about it, but we never got around."
Seems
to
like a lot of work.
Yeah, and then the next day, hey, cameras. It's like, oh, I guess we're going to film this from now on. So I thank you for our YouTube presence.
No problem. It's been fun. I mean, watching the different podcasts and seeing what other guests bring and seeing how they react on camera, and it's helped me kind of understand what to bring to my podcast and understand what guests want, what viewers want, and I've been trying to figure that out. So
yeah, usually back before this, when I was editing, I never got to see. I never got to see how uncomfortable my guests were, and now I can see it all over their faces. All right, let's find out what that noise is.
I'm gonna pull the main real quick. Oh boy, who is that?
I turned the mains all the way down. I tried
Which one's going out?
because it was making a horrible noise, so I
Yeah.
turned it all the way down. Now it's back up.
Are we back?
I think we're okay.
One of the wires is acting. You're on top. You're under the board there, so
Yeah,
I don't know if that's going to help.
I'm going to turn this down again real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Hey guys. Oh.
Oh.
Hey guys. Welcome back to the show.
I think we're back. There we go.
That was weird.
I think there was a Stranger Things kid in there.
Yeah. It's just like slowly letting the air out of a balloon, because that's what I heard.
That was some interesting noises. That'll play back later.
Yeah.
I think this is a Will Byers situation. Is it me? Just
I don't
talking
know.
into it?
Whose mic's acting up here?
I don't think it's mine, because I turned mine all the way down and it didn't. See,
I'm
this is
hoping
why
it's-
Jesse stays behind the
Mm-hmm.
camera.
Yes, you get correct problems.
Yes. But yeah, now we're in it.
I'm
We're stuck
hoping-
in this.
Yeah, we may have to think it might just be the PA from being cold and warming up.
Oh, wait, maybe it's the speaker?
That's yeah. So if
Troubleshooting
you
live on the air.
see the noise freak out and you see the
That
levels,
sounds like not
let me know.
a real thing, though. That sounds like a ghost
No.
was in there, and you don't want to admit that. So you're like, well, it was probably cold and warmed up an hour after it had probably should have warmed. See?
Stop angering the
Are
ghost,
you
Will.
seeing those spikes or no?
All
Not
right.
when you see it pop. Okay, so
You're right,
it's,
Jesse. It's
okay.
probably just cold and warm. And I'm sorry to the ghost.
Yeah, all our bases are covered now.
Ooh, now you're making.
Now it's popping. Okay, so it is one of us.
Goodness gracious.
What happened here?
Turn mic 4 off just to be safe.
Up or down?
Down. Okay. Oh boy.
Nope.
All right, we're going to turn this down again.
We'll be right.
Hey, we're back.
We're back.
Ah, problems we've never had before.
Yeah, that was exciting.
Yeah, how about that? Ow. my microphone just shocked
Oh,
me.
maybe it's you. Maybe you've got.
Maybe
you're
I've angered the
developing
ghost.
late stage mutant powers.
Statico.
See?
What a terrible superhero.
Oh, you'd be a villain because you would just go around messing with podcasts.
Yeah, those podcasters need to be taken down a peg. Those luxurious lives that the podcasters are holding. So anyway, so you also ask the question, if you were to die, how would you feel about your life? And it looks to me...
Oh, that's an upsetting question to ask comedians.
Yeah.
That's not nice, Jesse.
It also looks like 90% of your guests immediately think, oh, this man's about to murder me. Like,
Yeah,
like who will miss you if I
To
killed
be
you right
fair, as long as I've known Jesse, and we talked about this last week, as soon as you're mad, your immediate response is to threaten someone's life, usually with shooting. And so I could imagine you being like, "Oh, I was so mad at my boss.
But-
He's lucky I didn't bring a shotgun into work." So, how would you feel if your life were to end right now?
for me, it's always been something that I guess it's just always been something I've said ever since I was
Threatening
younger.
to kill people.
Well, it's I always had a weirder. I had a rough. I had a rougher childhood. I wasn't. I had a rougher time in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Surprise, right?
No, it just never keep going.
No, real. So I mean, really, it was like high school, college, not a fun time. But it's become more of a coping thing that I just say it like everyone's like,
Murder.
oh, no, like it's just a more I say it to just I aired it, I said it, and now and it gets it out.
Yeah.
It's instead of the probably born in Irish Catholic part of me that is like, oh, just bottle it up and then it'll be a tumor later.
Yeah,
It's just I
as
let
a
it out.
bottler, I totally get that.
Right. So it's more to me. I just say it and I just like son of a, and and then I get it out and I'm good. Like people say, oh, you road rage. I'm like, no, I yelled at him. I said something
and
bad.
now it's gone.
And it's gone, and I'm good, and now I can continue driving. I'm not going to chase the guy down for 20 miles, and then, and then something horrible happens. No, I'm just like and swear words, and then
Yeah,
That's
because
it.
I think most people, when they get upset, they have a phrase that they go to.
Mhm.
Because I know my go-to phrase whenever I'm upset is, "Oh, I want to go home," and I've said that in my home before. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense. It's just a thing I think. It's my way of saying I'm upset. Oh, I want to go home.
I guess the question itself kind of came from, I guess, a thought that I had a couple years ago, which was I
What
was
if I murdered all these people?
no, it doesn't have anything to do with murder. It was more a way of looking at my life and the way of living it. Like,
Yeah.
are you living your life in a way that you look at people. You see people that just go through life and just it's a drag and it's just droning on. I didn't want that to be my life. I wanted to be remembered. So whether it was maybe I didn't save the world, but are people going to remember me as a decent person that was
Right.
there for them, that was that kind of person? And that's what I wanted to be for
Mhm.
people, not just like, oh, he made millions of dollars in the stock market and he owned millions in companies. No, I didn't want that. I wanted to just be that
Oh, I would
person
love
that
that.
touched some lives. And yeah, but there are those people. But you look at their funeral and they just go, yeah, he was
Well
a rich
catered.
guy. Yeah, and that's it.
Well, I don't
And-
care what people feel at my funeral. I would just want the millions of dollars.
But see,
and
you
then
can't
I'll
take
have
that
a-
with you when you die.
But I'll have a great life. I don't care at that point. I
Stop
whack my
breaking
thing.
stuff.
What I'm saying is, give me money, Jesse.
I don't have any of that because I'm a podcaster. Remember, we covered
Yeah,
this a few minutes
yeah.
ago.
Went over
Did
all
you-
of this.
Did you ask Andrew Fox that question?
I haven't had him on my podcast yet.
I thought you
No,
had.
I'm working on getting him on the podcast.
wanna-
So,
I want to hear his answer.
well, if you want to hear his answer to that question, come to High Note Humor every Wednesday,
Yeah,
and you'll
good-
pretty much get that answer.
Good plugging. Good plugging.
You get that answer to that question.
That is a tough question to ask your average comedian.
hmm
Just
well,
because we're a sad bunch.
Yeah.
But it's all.
No, some people have answered it pretty upbeat. Some of the answers I've gotten were pretty good.
Well, then
some
they're
people were pretty
liars.
proud. Well, if then they're good at lying, but some of them have answered it.
Those
That,
people being Katie and Jeff Stormer, the two non-comedians you had on the
Yeah,
show.
They're having great lives, pursuing their dreams.
Yeah, it's going great. I don't have to spend every day in a dark bar waiting to do 5 minutes of time. It's a better life. I get to go outside. Not today, though. It's cold.
stay indoors, stay warm.
And then you make them do an ink blot test that you make, right? You make the ink blot?
Yeah, every one of them. They're all made. They're just acrylic paint on paper. And it's really what I didn't want something that people are going to be like, "Well, you're psychoanalyzing me." I'm not.
Yeah, this sounds insane.
It's a lot of the ink blots, which again, even though they're all random, there's something that people see in them.
If I were to watch a movie, a horror movie, I would not be surprised to have it start with them like wake up in a dark room and they're like, "Tell me something from your past you're ashamed of. What does this look like to you? How will people feel when you die?" Like, oh, there's going to be
Like,
a Saw
comment, and
game's about
subscribe.
to happen.
Yeah, but it gets more into people's heads.
I know, that's what I'm saying, Jesse.
Well, it goes deeper.
That's Will's greatest fear is knowing himself.
Which is why I haven't been able to get him on the podcast.
Yeah,
yet.
I don't. I like the first question. I don't need the rest of this going on.
A lot of my guests, because I do give them a prep, I tell them the intro question beforehand. I say,
That's a good
think
call.
of something that you've done, because not everybody can go through them, but a lot of the guests have been like, "Ooh, I got to narrow this down."
Yeah,
Like,
I have a lot of proud criminal history.
There's been a lot of them that have been like, "Oh, I gotta think about this one because I've got a lot of things on that I could say that I did that." I think my first two of my first 3 episodes involved, grand theft, and I was like, I said like little things, I was like, "Ooh, God, for God's sakes!"
Yeah.
So
I got nothing. That's why I haven't done the show. I'm a good little boy.
Steal more stuff. It's fun.
Give me your wallet.
Fine.
That wasn't fun.
Ooh, there's actually stuff in it now. I got all these gift cards. It's after
Oh
Christmas.
yeah. So we also like to geek out on the show, and we do it the same. We go, "What you watching? What you reading? What you playing?" Where we talk about what we're watching, what we're reading, what we're playing. Jesse, you're new to this side of the camera. What have you been watching?
I've been off this week from work, so I've actually been catching up on Forged in Fire.
Fortune Fire.
Forged in Fire. I mean, you guys.
Forged in Fire.
Forged in Fire. Yes.
I thought it was an arson show called.
No.
Fortune Fire.
No. Forged in Fire. I mean, you guys know me as, like I said, a bit of a builder, and one of the things I don't do is blacksmithing. And watching these guys crank out stuff in, the basic premise is you get 3 hours. Here's a mystery steel or a known steel. Make a knife of some kind that we tell you to make, and then
And kill a man.
one of
with
it. Well, yeah.
Temper the blade in the blood of your enemy.
Well, the first section is just make the blade, then you make it a handle and a weapon, and then after that, then they test it. They'll test it on ballistic dummies. They'll cut the hell
and then
out
they
of
throw
things.
you in a room with the other people.
Yeah.
I would much rather watch that, but
Yeah,
unfortunately,
we heard about your show.
So it is. It's addicting to watch because I just love watching people make stuff and build stuff.
I think we've talked about, if I was rich, one of the things I would have is a room of 1,000 ballistic gel dummies that I would just hit with all kinds of stuff and then be like, what did that do to the human body?
And that's exactly what it's so fun. They'll get a legitimate ballistic dummy with bones.
Yeah,
organs,
that's what I mean.
and
The
they will,
Deadliest Warrior one.
Yeah, and they will beat the hell out of it with whatever weapon they come up to, and that's usually the finale when it's the final 2 guys. They go home for a week, make said weapon. They'll say, "You make this weapon from history." 4 seasons in, I'm not going to lie, some of these weapons are starting to get a little weird. Like, they're starting to pull weapons out of places like I've never heard of these things. Like,
Well,
this is some ancient Indian weapon that was from, 300 BC.
You're talking about the, what's it called? That sword that bends?
Yeah.
The whip sword or whatever it's called?
Yeah, and I can't pronounce half of these things, but there's so many weird weapons that like the first weapon they did, like season 1, episode 1, like, we want you to go home and make an iconic weapon from history, katana. I'm like, well, there it was, first episode that the guys had to make a katana, but so they've had some other ones, broadswords, Viking axes and things like that.
Because your basic weapons don't vary. You could call it a Francisca or whatever versus a bearded axe, but it's just an axe.
Right. Oh no, they're specific. Like,
yeah,
when
I'm
send
sure
you
they
back,
care
they're like,
a lot.
it has to be this and curved and handle. So yeah, and then they have a week, and then they slice a whole bunch of crap up and they declare a winner somehow.
That's a cool show. Where's that? Was that a YouTube show?
History channel.
History channel?
Yeah.
Cool. I'll check that one out. That sounds like good going to bed TV.
Yeah.
Will, you see anything good?
Yeah, I watched Bright on Netflix.
Let me tell you. This is the worst movie that everyone has seen. Everyone has seen this movie.
Wait, worst?
Every person I've talked to, I'm super excited if you're about to say good things about it.
Oh, I am.
Because everyone I know has run up to me like, have you seen Bright? It's garbage. Don't waste your time.
Oh, they're
It's like,
wrong.
how is everybody watching this?
You have friends who are wrong. This
God.
movie's so...
Most of everybody at High Note last night was on the no side.
I thought Ramon liked it.
I don't remember whether he did or not. It was a
He
big
told
heated
me he
argument.
He said he didn't like it to be popular with all the other people who didn't like
I
it.
see. No, I thought it was a great movie. Like, I could see it's one of those movies where, like, if you like a whole story, like, if you can't just fill a... No, I know, it's going to sound like if you don't
Keep going.
Like, it doesn't... It creates this world. It gives you enough. It doesn't fill it. Like, you kind of have to bring it you're like, fill it yourself, which I kind of like that in a story. And I described it, which is weird because it's got Will Smith in it. It's like Men in Black if the main characters were two cops on the trail of Edgar that didn't know what was happening.
Okay.
And so you don't get the full picture. The ending might be disappointing, but that's not the point of the story. Is just these two cops surviving. And there's a big overarching story. They don't know what it is, and you don't really know what it is.
Oh,
But
see
that's
that
not-
I dig.
Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, one of my favorite ways to tell a story is through the least important characters.
Mhm.
So that sounds awesome.
Yeah, and it's not quite that. Like, it's, I don't know. And it's modern fantasy. So
Right.
it's orcs and elves, and there's no
Fairies.
dwarves, but they mention dwarves, and there's like one centaur in the background, and I like that because at first I was like, oh, there's just orcs and elves, and then you kind of realize like, oh no, it's a whole world. This is just focusing on the racism between like elves and dwarfs and humans.
So you're recommending it.
I think it's great.
All right. So if you've been on the fence about Bright and you watch it and you hate it, address the hate mail
Yeah,
to
I
Will.
guess talk to me about it. I've been trying to be real, not argumentative with people that don't like movies I like.
Is it funny?
I thought it was hilarious. I thought Will Smith did a great job.
Wow. Does he have a rap song about it?
No, and that I would have really liked.
People have been making them?
Okay, great.
Nice. That's really cool. All right, I will give that a try. Because my PlayStation, every time I turn it on, it's like, hey, you want to watch Bright? Last time I tried to access Netflix, it auto-played Bright. I was like, no.
We're just going to put this on for you.
Other things I wanted. I haven't been watching too much. I just got caught up on South Park because I got Fractured But Whole. And I was like, I want to know what they're going to be referencing. And people have been telling me it's really bad, but I really liked the last few seasons of South Park.
I haven't seen it.
There's continuity, like, a lot. Like, Cartman has, like, an arc in this, which is really interesting.
Like they promised, like, 8 years ago.
Well, like, spoilers for, like, maybe last season or even the season before that. There's a troll that keeps, like, saying horrible things online. And it's making basically all women turn on all men. Because if some guys on the internet doing this, they need to just wipe out all men.
I think I've seen.
And so every girl in South Park breaks up with every guy. And they all know it's Cartman. So they take him out into the woods. And they tell him that they're going to have a party. But they all, like, secretly brought hammers and axes. And they're going to break his iPad and his computer so he can't use it anymore. And then they do that, and it's not Cartman. And Cartman has actually, like, turned over a new leaf, and he finds women really funny, and he keeps actually talking about, like, female comics that he actually enjoys. And he actually ends up in, like, a fulfilling relationship. But it's revealed that he didn't like the new Ghostbusters, and he can't have his girlfriend know this. Like, it's really good, and I think it's now meant to be watched in a binged format. Like, if you're watching South Park episode to episode with commercials, it's not as good. But if you watch it as a big, long movie, like you do with any other show, it's really good. So I've been enjoying it, and I got the Fractured But Whole for Christmas, so I'm super excited for that as well. It's going to be great. I'm excited. So, Jesse, I'm going to throw it over to you. And ask you what you've been reading.
I had a strange urge a couple weeks ago to start going back through my old Calvin and Hobbes collection and start reading back through there. I guess it's been a long time since I've read it, and to go back through and see how adult this comic was.
Yeah.
Like, you pick it up as a kid, you enjoy it, but when you see the nuances as an adult, the whole book is, the whole series is totally different once you start seeing the way it really is and reading it as an adult. And it's a hell of a lot more enjoyable now than when I was a kid. I really actually enjoy it even more.
If you do that with Garfield, you'll have the exact opposite effect.
Probably.
Oh, this was never funny.
Yeah. No,
It wasn't funny or insightful.
No. It's better without Garfield than it. But yeah, Calvin and Hobbes, fantastic.
Yeah.
And there's one that sticks out to me, and I don't even know if it's a real Calvin and Hobbes. It might have been like a fan one, but it's about like Calvin taking medication and Hobbes slowly like fades away.
I think that was something they did as like a fan thing that was supposed to wind into another story, because I'm pretty sure Bill Watterson has stopped.
Yeah.
But I think there was like a fan tribute, I think, that was supposed to be out, that they were supposed to expand the story, and it ended up being like now his kid has, like, he had kids, and now the kid has Hobbes, and Hobbes is, I think it's that, if
That's cool.
But I know there's a fan thing that it's either, I believe it's a fan done thing that now it's actually Susie and Calvin had a kid, and now the kid has Hobbes, and
that's neat. He's playing with Hobbes wrong.
Hobbes is murderous now.
Yeah, even more so probably.
I love Calvin and Hobbes. That's cool though. That's a good choice. Probably the best comic strip to go back and read. Probably the most fulfilling.
You don't think Family Circus holds up?
No, I don't think so. You if you read some non sequitur, it's not going to be as good.
The other one that was really good that I used to watch was Pearls Before Swine, which was enjoyable.
What?
You didn't know?
Pearls Before Swine?
Yeah,
You've never seen?
No.
This is one I've heard of, but it was not in my newspaper.
It's not bad. It's definitely catered to adults. Definitely catered to an older crowd, because the jokes they make are a lot more. My boss, that I work in an office, and one of my bosses is a lawyer, and he's got this Pearls Before Swine comic that's supposed to be he's telling like a children's story, and the whole children's story is he's like, oh, this guy's have so much pain, he's living day to day, and he wants to end it all, so he throws his lawyer off the cliff, and that's the joke in the clip. He's like, yeah, it's a good children's book, and that's the way they joke around in this comic. So you can imagine, yeah, it's a little bit more adult-oriented than typical Sunday comics that we were used to.
I have to look that one up. William, you read anything good?
I'm gonna super cheat.
Oh, super cheating!
But that's because
I like his usual entrance.
Yeah.
But,
No. Normally
super.
it's cheating no matter what. But I don't have an outlet to talk about this with anybody else.
Okay.
So I've been reading the flight manual to my new drone.
Okay. I've pulled something like this before, so this is acceptable.
The future's here, guys. This is. Well, I have I forget what it's called. It's an X5. It's like a foot diameter drone. It's got a HD camera in the front. It connects to my phone, so I can see the camera, fly it around. It's a little too complicated for me right now. So I was looking at I'm full into drones.
Oh no!
And you can get a trainer drone that's only $70, but it self-rights a whole lot.
Okay.
So it's easier to fly. Also has a camera. Comes with goggles you put on. I was watching the video of the dude. Like, it's full Shadowrun. Like, he's just plugged into this drone. He can see what the drone sees, and he's flying around his house. Racer. Yeah, so he's like zipping under like stuff. It's incredible.
There is a drone racing league.
That's what this guy. He's a drone racer.
It's drone racing league, and that's the way they race in these things. They put these things on, and there's like six of them or something in a heat, and it's insane. I have no idea how these guys do this, and the maneuvers they pull off. If you've never seen this show.
I look forward to you posting a video of your drone running into a seagull.
Yeah, right now the maneuver I could do is there's a button on the controller that's auto takeoff and auto land. So that's my cool move right now.
Look at it go up. Look at it go down.
Oh, it's not going down fast enough. Oh, I hit a tree.
Well, I'm excited that you have a drone, and I apologize that you broke it for the future.
I broke one rotor guard, but that's okay.
You are close to ACY, so you may have to be careful.
Oh,
Wait, what?
the airport, so I could commit some
Oh yeah, that would be
federal offenses.
Yeah, that's like instant 3 stars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
It just goes right off.
yeah, you don't want to do that.
I'm near a power plant too. I bet that's super illegal.
You probably shouldn't be doing that. All right, well, I look forward to your arrest.
It's really gonna help my war on Christmas.
You got it for Christmas. I'm going to try to turn over a new leaf in the new year, guys,
And read
not just read, but we've had
House of Leaves.
but read House of Leaves. Yeah, finally going to get into it now. We've had a lot of authors on the show,
It's true.
and they've given us a lot of books. So I started reading Joe by H.D. Gordon.
Oh, good.
And it's interesting. It's all the chapters are really short, so like there's a bit of an element of like I'm 12 chapters in and nothing's happened. Oh, I'm like 9 pages in. The one thing that's bugging me out is each chapter follows a different character. So you get to see all these different perspectives. The chapters about Joe are in first person, and the chapters about other people are in third person.
Yeah, that'd be.
And the narration's not like different enough for it to like click in my brain like a different person's talking. So that's been a little bit tough to get through, but it's setting up some really good stuff. I'm super into it. I got water all over it and I ruined the book. So I'm not going to be sure what happens.
Well, we'll just bring her back on.
So I might have to bring her back on and have
get
her
another
bring
free
another
copy.
copy of Joe. Because it was really cool. She had psychic powers. She could...
Did she do a Elf on the Shelf horror book?
H.D. Gordon?
Yeah.
I feel like she did talk to us about that.
Yeah.
I believe that was her.
That sounded pretty good.
Yeah, I owe her a book read. So I'm going to get to that. I'm going to get to what Nicolai Evans gave us, the Elements books. Maybe I'll read Cube Sleuth by Dave Caruso.
Nice.
I have all these books I should be reading. So
Nah, he said something mean to me on Facebook. I'm not going to read
That's
his
what he
book.
does.
Yeah.
So that's what I've been reading. Jesse, what you playing?
I have just picked up Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus.
How
Nice.
is it?
Uh-oh.
Now I haven't gotten far into it.
You're not okay with all the Nazi killing?
No, I'm cool with that. That's fine.
Right
No,
answer.
the way they start the game off. I mean, it's not a huge. Well, I can't even give you spoilers, but the way they change your controls, the whole game is controlled as soon as you start. It's totally changed. I'll give basic spoilers because obviously Blazkowicz survives into the second game, obviously.
Right.
But you start the whole beginning part of the game, especially because I played the first one again right before it. Now you play the second one, and you start the game in a wheelchair for at least the first half hour, 45 minutes of play.
Interesting.
So, yeah, because obviously he was jacked up at the end of the first one. There was, whatever happened at the end of the first one, and now you're in a wheelchair. So you're wheeling around in a wheelchair and shooting with a one-handed automatic submachine gun for the first half hour play, trying to figure out what's going on. And you're used to the run and gun, moving around, running, and now all of a sudden it's the controls just totally get thrown off. And I was a little off put by that to start the game off. Otherwise, it is a pretty good game so far. I mean, I am probably only about 2 hours in, but I'm enjoying it. Yeah.
Cool. What are you playing that on? PC?
Xbox One.
Xbox One? I didn't know you had one of those. Lucky. That means you can have Cuphead. We have to have a Cuphead party. Will you play anything good?
I got a game for Christmas. My sister doesn't listen to this. This game is not great.
Ooh.
It's called Doodle Master.
Oh.
It's one of those jumping on the Cards Against Humanity bandwagon games from people that don't quite get it. And so the idea, there's two cards, a white and a black card, that have a bunch of random stuff. One of them's all like nouns, proper nouns, names, that kind of stuff. And the other one's like actions. And then you have to draw that scenario and the people try to guess what it is.
Flying toaster. Oh.
Yeah, I got Captain Kirk turning into an anime character. But, like, it's so... It's this weird jump from, like, something in a tough spot is one of them, which is not a thing you can really draw.
Yeah.
Or, like, getting a beach. Like, this weird so it's like you're playing Cards Against Humanity and Apples to Apples shuffled together.
Ooh.
Okay.
And it's hard to get a feel for this, like, the game.
So it's like half of it's family
Yeah, it's
friendly,
half
the other
a thing you
half
can
is
play with your
definitely
family
not.
and half this is horrendous. And then some of them are, like, mildly problematic now. So it's like, a homosexual. It's like, ooh, let me draw a human. Don't know why you had to include that extra part. That makes you a monster. So, thanks, game. So I do not have an endorsement for Doodle Master.
Noted. That's fine because I have a great endorsement.
Oh, okay.
I played Gang Beast.
Okay.
Oh my god, it is the best game. It uses what I've been told is called fumbled core controls, which is like kind of I Am Bread, Octodad intentionally bad controls.
Okay.
But it's Super Smash Brothers.
Oh.
So B is headbutt, and X is jump, and then Y is raise your arms, and the trigger button is to grab things. So you can grab people and hold them over your head and then try to throw them, or you can just grab like a pipe and just kind of swing it. It's like purposely bad, but there's like tons of funny costumes. There's a really cute penguin. There's Rick and Morty. I always play as Lucha Superstar. And it's just Smash Brothers. You try to throw them off the area. There's a few like levels with a little bit more pizzazz to them. There's a subway, so you can push people in front of trains.
Nice.
It's super fun and ridiculous. And it's one of those games where, like, with the right people, it's super fun. I played it with my buddy John, real life's John, and it was a blast. And he told me as I was leaving, I'm going to practice this game and get real good at it for next time. I was like, oh, it's ruined. I'm excited for this to be not fun anymore. But Gang Beast, it's awesome. It's coming to Game to Gamer soon. It's that good. So that's going to do it for what you're watching, what you're reading, what you're playing. We end all of our podcasts with a game. It's time for host versus guest versus audience. This week, I brought my Sonic Quake. You plug your phone into it, and then it turns into a speaker. And by it, I mean anything. You stick this onto it, and it becomes a speaker.
Huh.
It's a weird
Does
thing.
it work well?
So that's what I brought. The Sonic Quake. Jesse, what did you bring?
Well, speaking of comics, I have
From
brought
a little while ago.
I have brought a Dilbert calendar.
Nice.
Circa 2000.
To that, the 17, an
yeah.
18-year-old.
Yes.
Yeah, that calendar can vote.
Yeah, this calendar is slightly dated. I had pulled this out and I was like, this is fantastic. I can't believe it didn't have all the pages just gone.
Yeah.
You know, nothing but just a back end. But
Yeah, it's so weird that
it's full,
somebody wouldn't give a crap.
Yeah,
full
it's
366 days of Dilbert.
Oh, was it a leap year?
2000 would be, yeah.
Oh, nice. That just
It's a millennial
It's a
calendar.
bonus. Yeah. It didn't suffer from Y2K. There was,
it still functions as
Yeah.
as a comic.
but the
Not so great as a calendar these days. Though.
yeah, the technology humor is not great in there anymore. A lot of stuff is
Exciting.
Or
outdated.
any of the humor,
Yeah.
probably.
It's not bad.
Humor.
It's not
No, Dilbert's terrible.
Catbert, awesome. So that's what you brought now to play host versus guest versus audience. We need an audience member. They need to bring a prize for us to win. So we brought these great prizes. What do we have this week? It's a box of Sweethearts.
Ooh,
it's
chalk
already
hearts.
Valentine's Day season.
Oh man, is that out already?
Yeah, so here's some heart-shaped antacids.
Yay, chalk.
And you're our only choice. So come on up here. Turn your microphone on and introduce yourself.
Hi ho, it's Laura.
Hey,
What's up?
Laura, welcome back on the show. So, since Jesse is the host of the In Your Head podcast, I wanted to play a more heady game.
Oh boy.
We're going to play higher level. We haven't played higher level in this show in quite some time.
Long enough that I'm unfamiliar with it.
This is how higher level works. I'm going to give you a bunch of trivia questions. Don't answer them. Think of the answer in your head. And when you figure out what all the correct answers have in common, buzz in by saying your own name. And then tell me what all the correct answers have in common.
Oh boy.
So there's okay. I think I
Does
follow
it
this.
make sense to you?
I think I follow this.
Okay. All right, so I'll start reading. Whenever you think you know what all the answers have in common, say your own name to buzz in. All right, here we go. Game A. The first name of the first person to win over $2 million on Jeopardy. Roseanne's husband in Roseanne. A small piece of fabric under a blouse is known as a blank secret. Popular meat on the Oregon Trail. Car company that makes the Accord.
Laura,
Yes, Laura.
are these Street Fighter characters?
These are all Street Fighter characters. It was Ken, Dan, Cammy,
Honda?
Bison, and Honda.
Oh, Bison's the one I couldn't figure
Bison. I was thinking buffalo.
out. So was I.
Yeah.
I looked it up. It is bison. You kill buffalo to get bison meat. Is
Okay.
the way
I wasn't
the game phrase.
Oh, I
challenging
just
your
trust you. I just don't
Oregon
get it.
Just
Trail.
letting you know. Just letting you know. That's a point for Laura. Game B. This one's a shorter one, so there's not a lot of clues. Nickelodeon show hosted by Mike O'Malley. A container of jelly. Clifford is a big red one of these. Game hidden on the Nintendo Switch. What the U in UFC stands for. That's all of them.
You go through them again.
I sure will.
Mhm.
Nickelodeon game show hosted by Mike O'Malley. A container of jelly. That one's a tricky one, just so you know. Clifford is a big red one of these. The game hidden on the Nintendo Switch. And what the U in UFC stands for. What do all these correct answers have in common? Last two are the giveaways.
I don't have a Nintendo Switch.
Mm-hmm. Neither do I. So that one's
No.
All right. So that we go to the tiebreaker round. Will, how many correct answers can you give me of those 5?
2.
2. Jesse, can you go higher than 2?
because I'm curious with the wording on at least one of those. So I'll say 3.
Say 3. Laura, do you think you can give me 4?
I think I can.
You think you can give me 4?
Yeah.
Will, do you want to suddenly know
Nope.
all 5? All right. So, Laura, I'm going to ask these to you. You're going to give them the answers. If you get all 4 correct, you'll get a point.
Okay.
If you can't, will get a point for challenging.
Okay.
However, at any time, if you guys think you know what all the correct answers have in common, you could still buzz in and steal this.
So we could just steal them off of Laura's work?
That's
Yeah.
correct.
All right.
Okay, cool.
That's what middle school was like for me.
So, Laura, what is the show hosted by Mike O'Malley?
Guts.
That is correct. What is a container of jelly?
Jar?
Not what we were looking for.
What the hell are you putting jelly in?
Not a jar.
I think I found the problem with the question.
This is a tough one.
Yeah.
Clifford the Big Red
Dog.
Dog, that is correct. What is the game on the Nintendo Switch?
No idea.
I don't know why you said 4 then.
Because I thought it was jar.
Yeah, that was,
Yeah.
yeah, most of us think
I
jar
wasn't
goes in
sure on
Do
Jelly
you
goes
want
in
to
a
make
jar.
a guess at least?
Mario?
No, not Mario.
Assumed.
And what does the U in UFC stand for?
Ultimate.
Ultimate. All right, so that's going to be a point for Will.
Yet.
But would it help you if I said that the game hidden on the Nintendo Switch is golf?
No. That made it worse.
And would it help you that a container of jelly, I was looking for a can of jam? You know, a canned jam?
Oh, you're talking about frisbee.
Oh.
Yeah, these are
For
all
long
sports played with a
games.
frisbee.
Oh.
This is stupid.
That was
Sorry, that
terrible.
one was wow.
Yeah.
bad and you should feel bad.
boo.
That was supposed to be a softball for Jesse because he plays a lot of disc golf.
Yeah, but we don't. Yeah. Some of those were.
We still eat jelly out of a
I'm
jar.
eating my jelly out of a jar. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Have you ever seen a can of jelly?
Never.
No
Unless you
Houlihan,
talk
you
jellied
find me a
cranberry
can of
sauce.
jelly.
A can of jam?
Can
Yeah,
of jam?
find me one.
Yeah, if you
Find-
said what do you? Yeah,
I'll find you a
no.
can of jam. But before that, we're going to move on to the next question here. Game C. Here we go. The little guy played by Michael J. Fox. When someone steals your wallet. The $1 Million Man's manager. I thought Katie would be here. The outside of a tree. Spelled wrong. And the initials of the artist who paints soup cans.
Who paints what?
Soup cans. Campbell's soup cans. I will read those again.
Wow.
The little guy played by Michael J. Fox. When someone steals your wallet. The $1 Million Man's manager. The outside of a tree, but spell it wrong. And the initials of the artist who paints Campbell's soup can.
Oh, Jesse.
Jesse.
Root beers.
These are all root beers.
I was going to say sodas.
Yes. Stuart Little. Stuart root beer. Someone steals your wallet, that's mug. You get mugged. Mug root beer.
Hey, it's a stretch, but go on.
The $1 Million Man's manager is Virgil, which is a type of root beer that I looked up. It's a real thing.
I thought he had a lady manager.
No.
Okay.
I think you're thinking of
Yeah.
Macho Man and
Did
Miss
he-
Elizabeth.
Yep, that's what I'm thinking of. All right, go.
The
Carry
outside
on.
of a tree is bark, but
Yeah.
it's with a Q. And the initials are A-W. A&W.
The last two. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was it. Barks and A&W I was like, okay.
I'm just excited you're all not getting it on the first one like it usually happens in this game. So that means this is for the game. It's the final game. Here we go. The Golden Retriever in Homeward Bound. Class of a thief in Dungeons and Dragons. The Superman villain who starts fires. The most common name of the second-gen Pokemon rival. That's what it said online. Tom Hanks movie where he works for a toy company. Fast food place known for their many flavors of beverages. The type of spin an out-of-control plane does. And a brass weapon.
Laura.
Ooh, Laura.
Sonic the Hedgehog
Yeah.
characters?
These are all Sonic the Hedgehog characters. Shadow is the dog from Homeward Bound. Rogue is the thief. Superman villain is Blaze.
That threw me off because there's Volcana is the lady from the cartoon series.
Oh. Most common name for your second-gen Pokemon rival is Silver. Tom Hanks was in Big, the cat. Fast food place is Sonic, Tailspin, and Knuckles is the fast food. That means with 2 points, Laura is our winner.
Woo!
Enjoy your calendar.
I'm gonna keep playing with this.
That's Laura's, though.
Cheek, do you want it?
No.
Okay.
Dang
No,
it.
it came from, like...
Dang it. Will, I'm tired of you still getting the things.
that I want. Yeah, I'll
It's just Will
The
getting
twist is
my
I
things.
don't want them in my home.
Yeah. I just was gonna play with it. Fine.
Okay, bye.
Thanks for coming on the show, Laura. I appreciate it.
Get this away from me.
Jesse, we got to get out of here. Anything you want to plug?
Check out the podcast, the In Your Head podcast. It's on YouTube. New episodes come out every Wednesday. I'm trying to get them out every Wednesday. Hopefully I can keep up with it. So we have the Facebook, the In Your Head podcast on Facebook. And that's the two best places to check me out at. Twitter, nobody's following it, so we'll get around to that a little bit more later. Even though I'm putting stuff up there, nobody's following it, but we'll...
I don't think
We'll
I
get
follow
around.
you on Twitter.
The podcast?
Yeah.
No, it's... You follow the podcast? I'll have to check, because
I
I
don't
haven't
think
gotten
I
any...
do.
Yeah, I think it's got 0
What is it?
followers. At In Your Head Cast.
Good
All
to know.
right. I will be following
Yeah.
it soon.
So so that's... But it's got about 0 followers right now, so...
Okay.
I
Well,
haven't
now
been
it'll-
maintaining it because it's I'm unfortunately not a big Twitter guy, so I'm gonna have to try to get.
You got to get into it.
I got to get more
Gotta
on
get
there.
in that social media to promote that
Yeah,
podcast.
I know. I'm sticking with Facebook was the easiest thing for
Get
me
on
right
Reddit.
now. So yeah,
Our podcast. I'm a mod.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
Will, anything to add?
I bottom out on pineapple facts.
Oh, you started
no.
just telling pineapple lies. So
I know. Well, I'll get them from people. Don't
All
you
right.
worry.
I'm worried.
You have any
I
other
had
fruits
some-
you could tell facts
I
about?
had some pineapple over the weekend. That was nice.
That's a fact.
Yeah, it's you can't teach that.
Be sure to give us 5 stars on iTunes, 5 stars on Stitcher. Vote for us on podcastline.com. Make us the podcast of the month. Subscribe on YouTube and like, comment, and subscribe. Subscribe to the Twitch and watch us live and talk to us in the chat. And now listen to us on Spotify. We're everywhere. Wildfire Radio too as well. Upcoming shows include next week, January 4th, we are canceled. We will not be here.
Goodbye.
So there. And then on the 11th, we'll have Mary from the Ultimate Clapback. It's a new card game that's out there, and it's a lot of fun. I played it on Christmas. So that will do it. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to Net Neutrality for still being in somewhat existence and making the show possible. This is the Plus 2 Comedy Podcast. Thank you guys so much.
Bye.